Hi, Janet.
Hi, Marv.
First of all, thank you so much for doing this, my dear. This is going to be just a casual conversation and everything. So, Janet, you have an amazing story. First of all, thank you so much for doing this. I've always in awe of you and everything, and what you've overcome and you continue to overcome, and just your passion and stuff. So, just have a few questions. We've kind of run through the questions already, but I'll ask you along the way. But if you don't mind, I'd love for you to first share about your history of how you got to the point of using PEMF.
Okay. I was born with a genetic condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a hereditary connective tissue disorder affecting the collagen, which means that my joints come out of socket very easily. My joints collapse, and I've had lots of pain, and I have internal fragility. I had lots of surgeries. I was in a hospital bed for 14 years. I was disabled for 25 years. I was taking all kinds of medications, including up to, at one point, 29 prescriptions a month, including 125 micrograms of fentanyl per hour, plus oxycodone, plus anti-anxiety medication, 3 antidepressants. I was horribly depressed, anxious, and miserable in pain. I wanted to take my life. Well, I didn't want to take my life from the Ehlers-Danlos. About 5 years ago, I came down with complex regional pain syndrome. And after 2 years of that, with the exploding fire in my hand, feeling like my foot was being crushed or was broken, feeling like my hand was being crushed in a vice, being stabbed with either an ice pick, not actually, but having the sensation of being stabbed in my eye, ear, or head, or violently through my body with either an ice pick or a skewer. And I could tell whether it was flat or round, having my colon electrified, all of these things together, along with my eyes and brain shaking, made me want to die. And so when I finally got diagnosed with CRPS, I was told at that point, they were saying you have 2 years to get some kind of treatment. There's not a treatment, but find something that you can do in the first 2 years and you might be able to get it to go into remission. So I had 2 weeks from the time I got diagnosed to my 2-year mark. And I decided I wanted to try hyperbaric oxygen therapy, but that was $25,000. So I started a GoFundMe page. I got $7,000 in 2 weeks. I went to a wellness center and said, help me save my life. And she had me do an Epsom float and 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt and PEMF therapy. And that day, it was miraculous for me. And that when I first walked in order to not be in my wheelchair, I had to close my eyes and tuck my head and hold on to my husband's shoulders, taking very tiny, very slow steps. And when I walked out normally, and I've been able to drive since. I still had the pain aspect for a while. It took me a while to get to completely open up my microvascular system so that the blood could flow and eliminate the nerve pain. But now I have basically very little pain.
Wow. So when she introduced you to PEMF, what system did she have?
She had a Beamer mat,
Okay.
and I used that one for 2.5 months
Okay.
until it burned the micro blood vessels in my fingertips. And I actually had been trying to get in touch with the Beamer salesman, but God didn't have it set in his heart for me to buy a Beamer mat. So the guy just wouldn't call me back. And after it burned the micro blood vessels in my fingertips, I investigated PEMF therapy and found that Swiss Bionic had the most effective. And they actually even have complex regional pain syndrome on the list of conditions it's been proven to help with. And so that was the system for
Oh,
me.
wow. Okay.
So I went to the wellness spa and asked her, where can I try one of these kind? And she said that all the OsteoStrongs had them. And so, because they had done a test between the Beamer and the Omnium one, or the IMRS, and found that the IMRS was better. And so I called the OsteoStrong locally and asked if I could try hers, and she let me, and then I bought it, and it's just been a wonderful healing journey.
Wow. Wow. So I know that it's not $25,000. However, I know it's a bit expensive, especially for a lot of people with budgets and stuff. So how did you, in your mind, I mean, obviously it helped and literally saved your life and everything. However, how did you rationalize it to pay that expense? Because
Well,
they're not cheap. They're like, what, aren't they like?
no, they're not cheap, but as
Like,
far as I'm concerned, it's priceless.
yes.
I have used this system to, I no longer take the 29 medications that I used to take. So I've gone from 29 prescriptions to 0. I take nothing for pain because my pain is managed. Now I use a pad or a spot. I also have other healing modalities that I use that I have incorporated into my healing journey. But the mat was the first, biggest, most necessary part of it. And with all the signals that we have going on, in our environment these days, with all of the ways that our bodies are under attack, this is just my first basic step at maintaining good health. I have saved so much from my animals. Speaking of my dogs, okay, so this is a picture of a drop of blood
Oh,
on
yes,
a leaf.
yes,
Okay. I
yes.
took my dog outside to go potty one day and he urinated blood. And this was my service dog, the dog that's up there now.
Okay.
So I called the vet. They were so busy they couldn't answer the phone. So I texted them and said, Blaze is urinating blood. And they said, take him to the emergency vet right now. But my husband had my car, praise God, because I put my dog on the mat for an hour and a half solid. And after an hour and a half, let me point to it, the urine was
Oh,
yellow.
that's beautiful.
So I called my contact for the mat and I told her what had happened and I asked her advice, and she put me in touch with a vet that uses this system in his practice, and how blessed his patients are to have this. And he said if he went to the bathroom outside the first time, which he did, if he didn't appear to be sickly, then don't take him to the vet. Just put him on the mat for 5 or 6 hours a day. And that's what we did for a week. So we did 3 2-hour naps on the mat. He did,
Yeah.
sitting right here next to my desk. He's right here with mommy. And he just did his mat, and that was it.
What did you use in intensity?
I put him on the lowest possible setting because I didn't know what to do. Well, no, actually, he said to raise the intensity to 400, but my dog didn't like that. My dog doesn't like to go over 25. So some of my other animals don't mind it, but he's very sensitive like I am. So he stayed at 25. The first time I used the mat for my dog was when he had a blocked saliva duct. So this is a picture of my hand around a blocked saliva duct in his neck. Can you see that?
Yes.
That's my hand around it, showing you it was this big, okay, sticking out of his neck.
That's
So
crazy.
I took him to the vet and they said it's a blocked saliva duct. It's going to require surgery. It has to be a board certified surgeon because there's so many nerves in his neck that if they nick the wrong nerve, he wouldn't be able to chew. So it's not a quote. It'll be at least $1,000, and it'll take 6 to 8 weeks to get the consultation, and it'll just keep getting bigger. So within 6 to 8 weeks, I figured he'd have a second head. So I said, okay, well, I'll just take him home and put him on the mat. And the vet said, you can do whatever you want, but nothing is going to make this go away except to have it surgically removed. That's when I brought him home. I put him on sensitive for 10 minutes at a time, 10 days in a row. And after 10 days, this is where, I don't know if you can see this, but this is his head. And this is where it was.
Oh, wow.
And it was completely gone after 10 days, 10 minutes a day on sensitive. So
you literally only did it once a day for 10 minutes.
Once a day for 10 minutes. Because sometimes people need to go slow with PEMF. Right. And that was the first time he'd ever done it. I wasn't trying to upset his system, putting him into a massive detox. I just wanted to open up his microvascular system. It only takes 8 minutes to put the signal around you. So that's what I did. And it absolutely worked.
Wow. That's amazing.
So when you talk about the price, it just boggles my mind because I've saved thousands of dollars, but it's not about the money. It's not, I've saved more than I've spent, and I've spent more than $20,000 in mats because I now have 4 systems and I help other people with them. I use them to help other people. But the money it's not about what you're spending. It's about what you're saving, and not just in money, And the fact that I can go roller skating now, I can go indoor skydiving, I can go bowling, I can bowl 8 games in 2.5 hours with a 10-pound ball. And I've had both of my arms sewn back on, and this surgery failed. Immediately after surgery, a physical therapist destroyed the surgery and it hung back out of socket. So, when you talk about the price, I couldn't afford it. I had to turn to my loved ones to get the money from my first system, but it's priceless. There's
Yes,
just, it's
it
not
sounds
about the
like,
money, it's about the health, and your health is priceless.
yes, and the
You know?
quality of life for
And
sure.
the quality of life, right?
Yes, wow, that's
Absolutely.
amazing. So now you use the Imerus hybrid. Is that what you're using the Omnium One right now, the travel mat for him, right? Right now?
No,
That
he's on a hybrid right now.
oh, he's on the hybrid. Now, do you use why do you like the hybrid? Because that's the hybrid is with the infrared, correct?
Correct.
And
So the infrared adds a whole nother healing property for me.
mhm,
And besides that, in the wintertime, it's just lovely to
yes,
lay on.
yes, it
I
is.
don't use the infrared quite as much during the summertime, but I'm looking forward to the snow again or to the cold again so that I can snuggle up on my hybrid. And I can't wait until they get the hybrid feature in the infrared into the other applicators, because I understand they're working towards that now.
That's exciting. That is exciting.
But what I most like about this system is that I never took myself above 25 because the beamer burned my micro blood vessels in my fingertips. I was always afraid of
Right.
PEMF. It would saved my life. And so I valued it greatly, but I also feared it.
Sure.
And so this sensor is what actually has helped me to understand that my body just doesn't always want the same amount of PEMF. And so I don't like to use it without the sensor anymore. I like the sensor to guide this, for my body to guide this machine to exactly what I want. And every 60 heartbeats, it reanalyzes and finds what my body wants. So if I need to stay at the same, go higher or lower.
That's that Hexagon sense, correct? That biofeedback.
Yes, the
Yeah.
biofeedback.
Yes.
It's an amazing aspect of that. I don't know of any other PEMF device that has it. First of all, there's no other device on the market that even can come close. I've had clients, I've taken my system as far as 5 hours to one client. I've taken it as far as 10 hours, but I took it to one client 5 hours away to help her. She was very desperate, and she used it. It took her from a 10 to a 2. She wanted the system, but although she could afford it, her husband didn't want to spend that much on it. So he had her buy a different kind. It didn't help. So she sent that back. Then she bought another kind that was a little more expensive. That didn't help as much as mine. It helped her husband. It didn't help her. So she sent that back. And then she even got a hold of one that cost like $20,000. And it didn't help as
Oh,
much as
shoot.
mine.
And yeah,
So
Imerus doesn't cost that much. It's
right.
the
So
10
she
grand.
said to her husband, deal with it. I'm buying this one. And she did.
Good for her. Good for
So,
her. And then she's obviously noticing a difference now.
yes.
Yes.
And now they're debating on whether they should buy another one, because now her husband and her sons don't want to let her take it with her when she leaves to go out of town.
Got it.
They want her, so they may have to get another one. And
That's
that's a wonderful position to be in, that everyone in the family understands the value of it.
yeah, and you're definitely getting more bang for your buck, obviously, because if you have families and you have your animals using it, you're getting a lot to the value and stuff. And the real truth is it's well under 10,000. Isn't it like 7,000 out the door with tax? Well, depending on, of course, where you're at.
Well, the regular price for everything included is $89.12.
Okay.
But
Yes.
usually there's a sale every month, and depending on what the sale is, you can get it for about $7,500
Out the door.
with taxes included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that's good. Yeah. Okay. So, I know that you get a lot of testimonies and stuff. Do you have any testimonies, just kind of to finish it up a little bit? Any personal testimonies that you'd like to share? Not, and when I mean personal, I mean that you've dealt with other people with, or just yours even too.
Well, I do collect testimonies. I have seen some miraculous things, people who had COVID, and the hospital wanted to ventilate them the day before.
Mhm.
And at a different doctor's insistence, they instead got an oxygen mask, which brought their oxygen up. This is a 4-year-old boy I'm speaking of. They wanted to ventilate this little 4-year-old boy, and instead he got oxygen. That brought his oxygen up. Then he was released from the hospital. He got on my mat. As soon as he got on my mat, he quit coughing. 30 minutes later, he asked for food, and he was well on his way to healing.
Is that,
his
and
mother,
then you usually do everybody on sensitive usually, or lower intensity typically?
what I usually do is put the sensor on and
Okay, that's
allow
what I
their
thought.
body
Okay,
to guide
got it.
the machine.
Got it. Okay, thought so. All right.
His mother had a migraine at the time because she'd been sitting in the hospital for 2 days without a fresh breath of air. And so she had a migraine, she had hip pain, knee pain, sciatic pain, and all of that was wiped away immediately with 15 minutes on the mat, which is not always the case for everyone. She didn't even use the pad. It was just she just did the mat. His father had 3 toes on his left foot that hadn't moved in 5 months, and he had no feeling in 5 months. The doctor said the nerves were dead. That's just it. Your foot, you're never going to feel your foot again. 10 minutes on the mat, and he's wiggling his toes and giggling in disbelief. He got up off of it. They were able to get on their knees, the mother and father, and they were previously unable to do that. She was able to lift her legs. He was able to lift his legs. They had to help each other get dressed before this because they couldn't reach down and bend their feet and lift their legs up. And they were just in awe. I mean, she was literally in tears, calling me an angel and such, and I'm not. I had to give all the glory to God, but I've seen some truly miraculous things. I've dealt with many COVID patients, not my patients, the hospital patients, but when the hospital has them leave, I actually help them to heal. And I do it by oxygenating their system, lowering the inflammation. I had a guy with COVID and double pneumonia. He doesn't even believe in doctors. So when he went to urgent care to get diagnosed with double pneumonia and COVID, his mom called me fearing that he was half dead because he went to the doctors. He hasn't been in like 16 years.
Oh, wow.
And so I went over there on a Sunday night at 10:30 and laid him on my mat on the porch. I see COVID patients outside, not my patients, their patients, but I see people with COVID outside, and 20 minutes on my mat, he was able to take as deep of a breath as he's ever been able to take without coughing. He was in shock that he could do it. And that video is on YouTube. All my testimonies are on YouTube. So all these things can be verified.
What's your YouTube channel?
It's Pill Free Hope.
Okay.
Pill Free Hope.
Okay. All right.
Because that's what I have, and that's what I offer.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So I really appreciate this. And obviously it helps the animals, and, it helps my kitty for sure and stuff. And I can see your babies are still enjoying the PEMF life and everything. Do you have anything to wrap it up? Anything else that you'd like to share or anything, or?
I could go on and on and on about PEMF. I had someone come I work in a pharmacy now, doing PEMF and teaching people about gut health and redox signaling molecules and all the things that I use in my repertoire of healing. Yes. And a woman came in this week with two of the conditions that I have, the EDS and the CRPS. She was borderline suicidal. She couldn't hardly walk, couldn't hardly talk, holding her jaw with both hands in order to walk. And 10 minutes later, she sat up after doing the mat and using the gel I have. She literally sat up and said, I don't want doctors anymore. I want you. And she's now bought a mat. She's bought the other things that I promote. And she is well on her way to healing. She literally came into the pharmacy the other day dancing, going, look at me, look at me.
That's awesome.
So
it's phenomenal.
It's amazing to be able to help people, but we all have to make our own choice. And some people, one thing about the money aspect of it is that if people can't afford a mat, what can you afford? Can you afford soda? Can you afford cigarettes? Can you afford junk food? Because if you can afford these things and you're eating and drinking and smoking these things, you're killing yourself. You're literally slowly torturing yourself to death. And whether it's because you're going to end up with cancer or emphysema or whatever, heart disease, all these things are investments in your bad health. So just start investing in your good health. And PEMF is the most basic way to nullify the signals that are coming to our bombarding our system, to open up your microvascular system, to allow healing to be promoted, to decrease inflammation, to boost your immune system, increase your bone density. There's just so much. With CRPS, your eyes go away. Your vision is troubled immediately. When I came down with CRPS, that's when I got glasses. I got these glasses 3 years ago. Okay. When I got diagnosed with CRPS, I have not had a new prescription since I bought my mat.
That's amazing.
Which is really a testament.
Because how often
CRPS, it just gets worse.
How often were you having to increase your prescription?
Every year. For the first 2 years
Got it.
that I had CRPS, I got a new prescription. When I got my mat, I'm going to have to buy new glasses because these are all scratched up, but they're going to be the same prescription.
Yes. And hey, you never know, maybe you be even a little bit less.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, and stuff. So my gosh, this has been amazing. I'm looking at my little checklist to make sure I ask all the right questions and all the questions and stuff. I can't thank you enough and everything. I do
want to add one other thing.
Absolutely. Go.
That this is the Wolfie's Law chart. Have you seen this?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Okay. So this is a great cheat sheet for people who don't understand how to use their system. And if you don't understand how to use your system, you're probably not going to get the most out of it. So I would suggest that if you have a PEMF, if you have an IMRS system, whether it's the Omnium One or the Prime, Expert, Hybrid, whatever it is, that you educate yourself as to how to use it. Because for the first 3 years that I had my system, I didn't know how to adequately use it. So I didn't use it, which is why I stayed on the pain pill. Was the last thing I gave up because I didn't understand how to use my pad and my spot. I'm going to give you one hint that I've learned from my system. Okay. And that is that the spot is the most powerful part of our system because it has signal with your flesh in between. And I use, and you can only do this with the Prime, but with the Prime Expert or Hybrid. You can use the pad and the spot at the same time. So for instance, if you're addressing a knee or an ankle, you can put the pad underneath your leg and then put the spot on top, and then you're getting it from 3 different angles. So you can't use the mat with the pad or spot, but you can use the pad and spot in conjunction. I also use it with people who have internal issues. I'll put the pad behind them and the spot right here on their abdomen. So that's just another way to, and I call it a super spot.
That is amazing because that's what I do personally because I have the hybrid. I do that because that Helmholtz effect, and like you said, coming from both sides and stuff. So that's a really good thing to do and stuff. And kind of curious, so when you do it, do you typically do it on sensitive at those times, or are you doing it at 200? Are you doing it, or does it kind of?
I always do, for pain, I always do 25, which is the pain setting.
Got it. Okay. So for anything, so when you're doing it on the knees, you're doing it on the back, and you're doing it in like for like if you had IBS or something like that, you do both of them on 25?
I do it for pain, I do it on 25, yeah. But my husband does it on 400 for his feet. But he's a macho fireman. He wants to jack it up, he says. But that's not always best.
Right, of course, yeah.
I say take it easy, take it slow. We can always raise it. We can't lower it once you have the signal. That's what the signal is. So, I mean, you can lower the signal, but it's better to just ease your way into it instead of, I tell people that we're trying to whisper to the 75 trillion cells in your body, heal. We're not trying to hit you in the face with a baseball bat screaming, heal.
Yeah, it's not heavy metal, it's classical.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.